For those of you who don't know, let me introduce myself. I am the Asian sensation Michael King, founder of King Enterprises, principal backer of World Elite, sponsor for Vietnam Pro Wrestling, and Vietnam's greatest export. And you people are all very smart because you're watching Scott Larson's Hashtag Truth. Peace be the journey.
Watch it all fall down around you now. Was it ever really worth it? Having your kingdom crumble to the ground because you never had the courage. Stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up.
So I need to address something. I said I had a little announcement. Derek Vanderford, man, you contacted me and asked me to help you with a problem of yours, Antonio Morgan. It was never personal, it was just about money. See, the last show for Pro Wrestling Union, Chase Emery lost to Bebop. And you have the absolute unmitigated gall to call me and leave me a voice message that it's my fault that Chase Emery lost to Bebop. Listen, buddy, you and Chase Emery underestimated Bebop. Now, while I take shits that weigh more than Bebop, I'll give him all the respect in the world. But that loss is on you and Chase Emery, not on the outlaw Randy Wayne. So, as of today, April 5th, 2023 at 3:51 p.m., Derek Vanderford, the G, your services are no longer required. You are dismissed. You are fired. I wish you the best in your future endeavors.
Wow. Okay. The big man on campus, Randy Wayne, fires his manager. And ladies and gentlemen, that's the way to do business in professional wrestling. Face to face in front of everybody. Tell the whole world I love it. Me and Randy Wayne just never seen eye to eye ever. But I agree with what he did there. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Hashtag Truth tonight. A few quick announcements before we get started. First of all, if you see me grimace during this interview, it's not because I hate what Michael King is about to say to me or anything that he says to me. I am in a lot of pain. I have back problems. I'm going to try. So if you see this face or anything like that, it's not Michael King. It's my back. But I promise you I'm going to get through this interview. Second thing, this is going to be a one-on-one with me and Michael King. I love that everybody's watching the show. If you have a comment or a question that is concerning what me and him are talking about, I will put it up here. But the highs and we're going to make this a professional. Let's find out who the true Michael King really is tonight. That's what this show is going to be all about, and King Enterprises. So we're going to get down and dirty and very serious. And here we go. Hello, Michael. How you doing tonight, man?
Well, I'm kind of pissed off, to be honest with you, but I promise not to take it out on you.
Okay. Well, I have to say something in return. There's going to be a point in the show where I'm going to reverse that towards you, but you'll see when we get there.
Okay.
But let's start off with, basically the same question I ask every wrestler. I know you're not a wrestler. You are the founder of King Enterprises. So let's talk about how you founded King Enterprises. What is King Enterprises all about?
Well, I founded King Enterprises in conjunction with Luke Fury, Zay Vega, and AJ Frost. So AJ Frost wasn't actually at the promotion when it was named and declared. It was Zay Vega, Luke Fury, and I working together at this particular promotion. AJ was booked somewhere else. We had a good showing. Talking with Zay, and this is probably like the third time I talked with Zay, and we finally decided, hey, let's make this a thing. And Zay Vega is the guy that said King Enterprises. He coined it. I kept it.
Nice. So Zay Vega is actually the founder of the name.
Founder of the name, a inaugural member. So the very beginnings of King Enterprises was Luke Fury, Zay Vega, AJ Frost, and myself.
Okay. And now you answered my next question. For the first time ever in a long time, I showed him this beforehand. I actually wrote down questions because I really want to get in depth with this, and I don't want to forget any of the questions that I'm thinking. With all this pain going through me, I'm usually good on my toes at asking questions, but I'm not going to chance it tonight. So you answered my next question. My next question was, who was the very first member of King Enterprises and why? Why did you choose those three guys to start off King Enterprise?
So AJ brought me into this business. All right. So he and I were already a team. We were working at APW in Boiling Springs. We were doing good work there. So he was my first guy, and I was not his first guy. He's been around for 25 years. So he brought me in. I learned a lot from him, wrestling wise, wrestling business, locker room stuff, promoter, bookers, that kind of stuff. And the way I look at it is I helped him with life skills, decision making, things of that nature. So we helped each other a lot. And because of that, we bonded really well. When we unfortunately lost a loser leaves APW match, we left and we kind of explored different areas. So some places I'd go with him, some places he'd go by himself, and other places I'd go by myself. But we're still tight knit. So That's why we started with him. One of the other places that I went to was with Luke Fury. He's younger, right? He couldn't drive.
Very much.
And so I drove him around as his manager. I took him places, make sure he had opportunities. He can get to venues. He wasn't mistreated, taken advantage of, things like that. So that was kind of a natural fit. Also.
For those of you who don't know, if the first time you ever tuned in to #Truth, Luke Fury is very young. He's not 18 yet, so there's certain states that he can't wrestle in. That's what Mike is alluding to in that, he took him to make sure nobody took advantage of him and things like that. It's not that he didn't know what he's doing. It's just that with his youth, people are just like that nowadays. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So and to add on to that, so Nick Fury, a highly skilled worker, veteran in the business, is his father.
Right.
So Luke isn't untrained or naive or anything like that, but sometimes when you have someone that's underage, people like to take advantage and try to figure out things that someone younger wouldn't necessarily know. So that's what I was there for.
Right.
And that's where we met Zay Vega. And Zay Vega, I'm not sure if he'll like me saying this, but he's actually older than he looks. Okay. And I loved him because he has all of the energy and enthusiasm as an 18-year-old, but he has like the mind and the maturity of like a 30-year-old.
Right.
So,
and that's no doubt. That is a pure fact. I've interviewed him quite a few times, and he when age came up, it shocked me when he told me how old he was. I'm not going to display it, but it was like, wow, dude, you do not look that old, which is a testament to him. I mean, he's not a big guy. He's considered like a cruiserweight, but he takes really good care of his body. He's very well rounded. He knows a wrestling ring, a lot of great things. Now, Zay Vega, if memory serves me correctly, Zay Vega at one point stepped out of King Enterprises, correct?
He did. And he is still stepped out of King Enterprises. And we had our confrontation with him. We had the match. Brino and Zay had our figure it out match. And so we got it figured out. And
if memory serves me correctly, that was HVW where that happened, correct?
no. So
No?
HVW was a vendetta with AJ Frost and Zay Vega.
Okay.
All right.
So I got
So-
it mixed up. Okay.
So Brino hashed it out in North Carolina. Brino won, as I expected him to, and it was settled at that point. You know how guys are: punch each other in the face. Guy gets up, you can become friends later.
That's
Right,
the way
so-
you settle it in wrestling, and that's what I loved about that's one thing I love about King Enterprises. I will put that to you. We have disagreements a lot, and we're gonna have one later in the show, but you always have a business sense in mind. So this next question is a legit question to you, and this is specifically geared towards you. When you first came into the business and you said, you were brought in by a few people and started learning the wrestling business, we call it a business. Okay. You have a business mind. You've done business things outside of wrestling. Like you said in your point to AJ, you were mentoring him in life skills while he was teaching you the business.
Mhm.
So which do you consider wrestling, or is it a blend of both? Do you consider it a sport or a business?
Well,
Because we often call it a business.
well, all sports are businesses. NFL, MLB, like your Brewers, your Redskins, right? They're all businesses. All sports is also entertainment. All right. If it was not entertaining, people would not watch it. So sports is entertainment just as much as singing and acting, movies, TV shows. So
Very
it
good
is
point.
both. And here's the thing with wrestling, just like with sports, if you're no good at one side of it, you're not going to be successful. All right. So if your football team is,
Right.
1-31 in the last 2 years,
You've been watching the Redskins, haven't you? But anyway, go ahead.
then you're not going to have a strong fan base. Your stadium's going to be empty. You're going to have less sales and concession. You're going to hire less people. The community doesn't do as well. People suffer, that type of thing. All right.
Right.
Wrestling's no different. Right. So one of my hot buttons with the wrestling business is a lot of people think it's so different than every other business, right? But it really isn't. Maybe wrestling is different than football. I can agree with that. Business is still business, whether it's football, wrestling, movies, or whatever. And so people often tell me I need to learn the business, which is kind of funny because that's why I'm there, dickhead. I am learning the business literally right now. All right. And then my retort also is, I see how you're doing things and you flat out just need to learn business. All right. So don't come at me. All right.
I mean, each wrestler is their own independent business owner. You have to know what you're worth, what your value is. You every time you go to a promoter and want to be promoted and be hired onto a show, you're entering into a verbal contract. Sometimes it's a written contract, but a lot of times it's a verbal contract. Hey, I'm going to come work for you. I'm going to do this, whatever you want me to do for this much money. So that's
I'll
where
give
the
you-
business side comes in, right?
I'll give you a nugget, something that's missing in wrestling that
Okay.
that can be exploited. All right. And it's something that my team has done. I have every person in King Enterprises sign a contract with me. And inside that contract, I have rights to use their likeness. So I make merchandise or whatever. I have the rights to use their likeness. Now, to protect the team members, it's not exclusive.
Right.
They can use their likeness and how they want and make money on their side too, because I'm an abundantly fair person. But I don't know of any wrestling promotion that is getting people to sign use of likeness agreements. So all these posters and that kind of stuff, they're actually open to lawsuit.
Wow, that is. But it's going to be hard if you now that kind of has a flip side to it. I mean, how many promoters are actually going to use wrestlers that are going to sue you if you put them on their poster? They want to be on a poster, so it has a flip side, but I understand what you're saying.
But how about this though? How about, and we'll just use me as an example. Let's say I don't have Brino with a use of likeness agreement, right?
Okay.
And then he signs with AEW. All right.
Okay.
And now, because I don't have that, he can go back and not allow me to use any of the photos and stuff that I currently have to make money off of. So
that is true.
if you're
you got wrestling buddies, you've got all sorts of things. I know you're invested in all that, so I've seen it.
Yeah, so I have these things. If he makes it, he becomes a WWE Hall of Famer, and I have the very first Slam buddy, and I don't have an agreement with him to do this, he can actually prevent me from selling it, or he can let me sell it, and then he gets all the money through the court systems. So
now there is a question that came up over here. Like I said earlier, ladies and gentlemen, if you're wondering why all my comments aren't going up today, this is a one-on-one with Michael King. If you have a comment or a question that pertains to what we're talking about, because I want this to be an exclusive about King Enterprises, not everything's a hello isn't going to get thrown up on the screen today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just going to put it out there like that. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just being real. So this you've seen all the stuff that's going on today in Facebook. Jonathan has a good question, and you just said it. I believe you just answered it, but I want you to go over it again. Since the topic has in wrestling circles recently in terms of business, what does Mr. King think of wrestlers taking photos with other wrestlers? Because there was a wrestler that came out on social media that said, you guys are stupid. This is dumb. You guys shouldn't be doing this. That you're taking away from wrestling. What do you think about that?
I think it's very situational. All right. So if like Luka Daniels, he goes out to WWE, AEW, and that type of thing. When he goes out there and he's waiting to be put on a show, no, he does not go and get pictures with Triple H and that type of thing. That's inappropriate. All right. I wouldn't do it, and I would tell my guys not to do it because you want to be invited back and that type of thing. All right. Exactly. And I believe there's also an agreement that you've signed not to, but even if there wasn't, it's inappropriate. Like when I've been on movie sets, I didn't go and, get my picture taken with any of the lead actors or anything like that. I just stayed in my area. Now in my area, there's extras and people of that nature that I'm talking with. Now those people you can exchange information and get pictures with. So you gotta know your role in this space. Now in indie wrestling, they bring in, let's say, Buff Bagwell. So Buff Bagwell is in your locker room.
Right.
Get your picture with Buff Bagwell. Make him tell you no pictures. All right. Shoot your shot. Most of the times
when you have big stars like that, they're gonna make a contract with you anyway. If you walk up into most wrestlers, EWF, why did I say EWF? I got EWF on the brain. AEW, WWE. If you walk up, hey, can I take your picture? That'll be $10, or that'll be $20, or that'll be $30. That's a contract. If you hand him the $30, he has to abide and take the picture with you.
But like that, a lot of that though is. They do that with fans, right? Or they'll do it with wrestlers if you're at their merch table,
right?
Right.
But it's still a contract, though, correct?
Yeah. But if you're working there backstage, I mean, be respectful. Right. Don't just go out there and snap a selfie and say thanks, man. Be respectful. Honor the ability and that type of thing. And then the third part of this is the kayfabe part. All right. If you just finished hitting some guy in the face with a chair and winning your match, and then you go backstage and you take a picture with him and you post it to Facebook like your best friends.
I was going to say the next day you're arm in arm, you're smiling. What good was the fight?
So that's BS. To me, I would take that picture backstage, but he'd be bloodied on a gurney and I'd be continuing to make fun of him. Right. So there's the purpose to that. But I'm a believer in maintaining kayfabe as much as possible.
Now you can take that picture. Now nobody's saying don't take that picture in the back. Go ahead and take that picture, but don't release it out to the public until 10, 15 years later when this is nonsense to everybody. You know what I'm saying? There is, because a lot of people are, saying, and I agree with them, take as many pictures as you want because these are memories. You'll never forget them. I agree with that point. But I also agree with your point. Don't take away from the wrestling of today by trying to prove a point.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? It is the business. You can't punch a guy in the mouth, scream up and down you hate him on a microphone, and then the next day put out a picture with you and him smiling and having a cup of coffee at the local diner. It don't work. You're killing kayfabe. And that's what a lot of the older generation wrestlers are screaming about today is the kayfabe just isn't there anymore.
And you're right. So kayfabe is strongest in the South. Right?
Yes.
Up here in the Pacific Northwest, all the marks are smart. They're all smart marks, if you want to use that terminology. But all the fans know, and it's also presented more WWE style, where it's sports entertainment. Everybody knows that these are just real human beings, and they're doing a show, and they don't hate each other in real life. Whereas in the South, it's a little blurred because honestly, sometimes tag teams in the South can hate each other for a while.
Right.
Right. Like,
no doubt.
Yeah, we're going to go in there. I hate you. You hate me. We're the champs.
There are so many tag teams that we can talk about that have rivalries through the years. The Rock and Roll Express versus the Midnight Rockers. Things like that. You can. I mean, there's a ton of them. I agree 100% with what you're saying. Now getting back to the King Enterprises, because again, I'm trying to go as deep as I can into King Enterprises. Now you've got 3 members at this point. All right. One is just left. You brought in a new one. Now, how did you meet Brino Royce, and when did you and him have the talk about becoming a part of King Enterprises?
All right. So how to say this without using names and promotions. So
you went to a show.
So we were asked to help a promotion and a promoter. All right.
Okay.
By someone that we like and respect.
Okay.
And so AJ and I went to help out, and Brino happened to be there. All right. And so we got to see him work, and it was not a good promotion, and that's why I'm not naming it. The promoter was never trained. He was a worker. He was a champion. He was a promoter. He never spent more than 5 minutes in training. And so he's running the whole thing. All right.
Okay.
And I say that so you could get the gist of the quality that you can expect from a show like that. Right.
Right.
And Brino, when we're looking out of everybody, he really did not fit in with that group. All right. So the person that brought us there to help didn't fit in that group. He was just trying to do a solid. And then we saw Brino, and we saw his abilities, and we're like, he really shouldn't be here. So I started talking with him. I talked with AJ first, and we both were like, yeah, what about this guy? We should talk with this guy. And so we did, and we talked with Brino, and he was interested. He wanted to start his journey. Right. So he'd been in training for a long time, and he was doing this stuff just to get ring time. But he was ready to
Which a
start
lot of
his journey.
wrestlers do. Let's just be fair.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of wrestlers will take any gig when they're just getting out of training, and you know, and any promoter comes to them and says, "Hey, I'll give you $5, $10 to come wrestle." I'm especially if they say, "Hey, I'll even throw you on the poster." Yeah, hey, you're getting my name out there. Thank you. I'm there.
Yep.
Let's just be honest.
So then we brought Brino on board from there.
Okay.
And that promoter hates my guts, thinks I try to steal his show and steal his people and that kind of thing. But the truth on that one is
that's up to Brino, though, right? I mean,
But
seriously,
it is up to Brino,
You said it yourself earlier. You are going to help Brino, but if Brino wants to go back there, that's up to Brino, correct?
right. So before we took Brino away, we tried to elevate that show. And we had some, and I say we, is like, it wasn't just me, it was me and 3 other people volunteering our time
Right.
to help this guy. And he just kept breaking promise after promise after promise. And so we all bounced, and Brino bounced with us.
Now, there's nothing wrong with that. I would agree with that 100% as a fan. I would be cheering for you as a fan, to be, and I've said it many times on my show. Now, what other members am I missing? Luka Daniels. How did Luka Daniels become part of King Enterprises?
Oh, I've been hammering him since I started. All right. So Luka, when I first started at APW, so I would go to training every week at APW. I spent two training days learning to bump. And you know, I was 50 years old at the time. That is not the age to start your wrestling career. All right. So I did not have any dreams of actually wrestling, but I did want to be able to experience a little bit of what the wrestlers are going through, so I have a better understanding. All
You
right.
wanted to feel what it felt like to land flat on your back on a wrestling ring. Let's just say it.
Well, but when you go through it and you understand what their body's going through all the
Right.
time, it's easier to manage your person. Like you see them working on a Friday and then a Saturday, and they are asked about doing a show on Sunday, and then as a manager, I'm like, oh hell no, you're taking an ice bath is what you're doing.
Right. And
You know?
that's why the trainers in our area, like Tom Pritchard, make a great trainer. They did it for years. They know exactly how to take a bump to make it hurt less. They can train, you know, the wrestlers to make it look real, and the whole 9 yards. So that kind of falls into that category.
Absolutely. So Luka Daniels was there when I was at training, and he was actually going by Vinny at the time. And so I liked Luka. And the reason I liked Luka is his drive. Right. So even that early on, he was like going to Georgia, working for free, working for $10, and it costs more in gas to get there for $10, that kind of stuff.
I will say this, not to cut you off, but I will say this. If you could find me another wrestler that wrestled as many shows in the last year as Luka Daniels, I will give you my next paycheck.
Yeah, that person doesn't exist. But so what really impressed me was he was getting a lot of peer pressure, right? Saying, "Oh, you're stupid to go down there. You could just stay here, you know, and work for free. You're paying money to go work somewhere else." And when it's your peers and veterans, and you're still willing to go against that and do this thing, and then I was impressed. That's a drive. A person has got to be able to, one, believe in themselves, and then get through the noise. And he had that, and I've always wanted him on board. And he was always, yeah, we'll talk about it. Yeah, we'll talk about it. And so finally, you know, we beat him into submission.
And it's a good thing because he fits in perfectly with you guys. I will say that as a fan, I love watching all of you guys. When you guys get together as a collective at any show, when there's 2 or 3 or 4 of you together at a show, it is fun to watch. It really is, because now my next question is, you were talking earlier about, you had them sign a contract to come in to use their likeness and things. Now, is it the same thing when you see a guy doing something wrong? Do you have something that says, hey, that is not King Enterprises like? We need you to stop doing that. Do you have anything in writing that says you can kind of guide them?
I don't have controls over what they do and how they do it necessarily.
Okay.
Especially because I'm a manager and not a worker. I've never been a worker.
So you guys kind of come together as a team if you see one kind
of. Yeah. So we
on.
have, and that's why we're kind of particular about who we let in as a team. And trust me, I've had a lot of people saying, hey, how do I get to be part of King Enterprises? How do I get to be part of King Enterprises? And honestly, I'm not going to say the names, but people, right, you would be surprised with some of the names.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised because listen, I've seen you guys on the podcast circuit. I've seen you on the podcast circuit. I've seen Brino, who is considered y'all's president on the podcasting circuit. I've seen Luka Daniels, everybody who's ever had an interview, and you guys, I don't know if you guys work on this together or if it's just them being them, but there is a mystique about King Enterprises. It's not just, this is a bunch of guys. And I'm going to use a word that, a lot of people hate, but it is a brotherhood in King Enterprises. There is a true brotherhood. I have heard stories in person, and I'm not going to get too personal, but I've heard stories of these guys will literally call each other to say, hey man, I've got into this situation, or this situation is coming up. What do I do? Where you guys are bouncing ideas back and forth off of each other. And I think that is one of the best things I've seen in our local area in a long time. Now, is that what really happens?
Yeah, we're the real deal. All right. We genuinely like each other. We talk to each other. We have our own group chat. And so it's kind of funny because sometimes people will talk with one of the members like they don't talk with like they don't talk. Hey, this guy said this, and it's like, you think I didn't already hear that? You think I don't talk with Brino and I don't know what's going on? We know what's going on. So
right. But I'm talking about, like, let's say, you show up at a show and they want to squash one of your guys. Okay. And I'll just give an, example. And they call you up and say, hey man, they're going to make us look bad. What do I do? What would be a response that you
it's wrestlers? Well, the first thing is why. Okay. So, why do you want to squash anybody? First and foremost, if you need to put somebody over, because putting someone over and a squash are very different things.
Yes.
All right. The squash, you go in there 30 seconds later, you've never done anything and you're defeated and that kind of stuff. So what's the point of that? What's the story behind that?
Right.
And I talk with other veterans in the business, other promoters, and seek their knowledge. And I was told, it's always good to ask why. Like, even if they're talking about, hey, we're considering you for a title match and give you an opportunity to be champion, and you should still ask, okay, so if I become champion, what's the plan with that? Who am I going to go up against? Is it going to be a just put on you for a minute to trap me here, or is it to tell a story? What's the purpose of getting the belt? So always ask why. And then early on in King Enterprises, we never got squashed. We'll take some L's, all right? We'll put people over, have no problem with that. Right. But we've gotten a little bit, we've elevated our abilities. We've gotten more popular. We're more of a draw now than before. So there's something to protect there. We represent other promotions, like Brino's the champ at AWL. He's the legitimate champ at HWA, right? So he can't just go and get squashed by a 15-year-old 95-pound kid in 30 seconds for nothing, because now he's harming those other promotions where he works.
Right.
All
Right. I
right, so
understand that. I
there's some
understand that.
protections there, and so we do seek guidance. We talk about our appearance. We talk about how we want to present ourselves in the ring, and that's something that
You're
is
going right
improved
into my
on and
next
on.
question. So let me go ahead and ask it. King Enterprises, now you've got like what, 5, 6 wrestlers?
We'll pass on that question at the moment.
Okay. Okay. Well, you have a list of wrestlers. I can name 5, I believe. I can name
Okay.
5 right now. You might have more in the wings. I'm not sure. I'm not going to ask. But I know of 5 wrestlers that belong to King Enterprises. Now, was there ever a sit down with these 5 to say, hey, okay, this is the standards of King Enterprises. This is the way I want you to show up at a show. This is the way, I want you to be, this is your mindset that I want you to have when you show up at a show. Did you guide them? Because I know you said you give them life. You teach them the life part of it. But in the business, there's a lot of people, and I see Ron over here, and I'll give cahoots to Ron, talking about the respect part of the business. If you come in showing respect, you're going to get respect.
Mhm.
Is that a big key for King Enterprises and what you're instilling in the guys?
Absolutely. And it's a little bit different. All right. So we have AJ, who's been the veteran, and so he does a lot of guiding. He does a lot of wall breaking. He has relationships, so we use him as the initial conversation piece and then pivot from there. Luckily, the people that we choose to be members don't need a lot of "you can't behave this way" conversations. So we have our chat, and we've talked about how we want to present in that chat, but we haven't had to nail down formal rules.
Right. Uh-oh.
We got to
There you go.
allow individuals to be individuals as well as individuals to be team members.
I got you. I mean, each one has their own style, and that's what I do like about King Enterprises. You got Brino, who, don't mind the pun. I'm just saying, he's the man that shows up like Ric Flair. He's dressed to the hilt. He's walked in with an entourage most of the time. He knows who he is. I mean, he's the only man I know that legitly is a walking commercial. He's actually got, sponsors on his back.
He is a sexy, charismatic beast, isn't he? It's all right, because I know even some of the guys like him.
I will go as I don't know about sexy. I'm not. I don't swing that way, but my wife can't stand him. You already know that, so I'm already in deep water right now as it is. But I love what he does. I love where he's going, and I love the his appearance is just spot on for me. His wrestling has always been spot on, but the way he shows up at a show, heel or baby, doesn't matter to me. He comes dressed to the hilt. He comes in with a lot of respect. He shakes everybody's hand. He knows where the locker room is. He doesn't shun anybody. But if you get stupid, he knows how to deal with you also.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I like that. Now, do you, being a life coach outside of wrestling and things like that, do you teach your guys how to deal with people who think they're for the business, but they're really not? Do you give them a mindset of don't fall for this?
Absolutely. So I've helped, and they will ask. That's one of the great things, is they will ask me questions and guidance. They ask me even wrestling related stuff where I was like, I'm not a wrestler, but I can draw on 35 years of watching wrestling to share them things that I've seen work on TV. All right.
Right.
And
that's a lot of us. I'm the same way.
so one of the great things about getting old is that you can pull crap from your childhood and it's brand new all over again because nobody else had ever seen it. So
yes. And it's true in wrestling too. I mean, unless you're a total mark who knows everything about every company out there, a lot of wrestling companies can go back and see some of the old stuff that worked and use it today, and people their minds would be blown. Some people, who especially the fly by night fans, be like, "Oh my gosh, this is great! Where did this come from?" And it happened 50 years ago in NWA or something like that.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I do tell my guys how to approach people. I do guide my guys on how to approach people. Always know what you're trying to get before you start asking questions, right? What's the goal of this conversation? What are you hoping to obtain? And then let that be the main focus, and then we find a strategy of getting to that point. But if you just want to goof on somebody because they did something dumb, I try to steer my team away from doing those types of things because there's nothing to gain from it. I'm glad
you said that, because we're about to go into something. We're almost at 41 minutes into the show, so we got 20 minutes left. So we're going to go into something that is going on in King Enterprises right now that I have a problem with. So me and you are going to Imano talk this one out, because I want to hear King Enterprises' full version of this that is going on. And I'm going to tell you, let's just show it. Let's just show it. This is something that was put out on Facebook, and I'm a man who's going to show the whole thing so that way you see both sides. This was put out on Facebook the other day. Now, everybody knows I'm the HWA fan club president. That is my claim to fame. And this was put out on Carolina Wrestling Network, and it said that you, being the chief liaison of Brino Royce, you put this statement out. Is this true?
That's correct.
Okay. It says the following statement is from the chief liaison himself, which is you. These videos show clear bias against my client, Brino Royce, as Mr. Royce goes for an early pin attempt. The official count significantly slower than when Mr. Royce's opponent pinned him. I would even go as far as to saying that this referee can no longer be trusted to officiate in matches where any of my clients are competing. That's the first half. Now, I'm going to take this down for a minute. I agree 100% with everything in that first paragraph. She needs to be reprimanded. She did. You proved it on video. I agree with that. As a fan, as the HWA fan club president, you can see it. She counted fast for him and pretty slow for Brino Royce. I agree with every bit of that. But it's when we get to the second part of this that I'm going to start having a problem, and I'll tell you why. It says also, this is again your statement, I have urged HWA officials to strike this match from the records immediately and present my client an opportunity to reclaim the title he has never lost. I don't agree with striking it from the record. I agree he deserves a rematch. I do agree with that. Okay? I don't understand why you want to strike it from the record. It's wrestling, dude. Wins and losses, does it really matter?
Does it matter when you lose the belt?
Well, I'm just saying.
Does it matter if you lose the belt?
If he gets a rematch, does the win or loss really matter?
So yes. So if I take your car and say, change my mind, why don't you walk your happy ass 12 miles down the street? You could come and get it. Does that matter to you, Scott?
Of course it matters to me. But
of course it matters, because that guy who took your car should have done it to begin with, and it should still be in your driveway. So why should Brino have to walk 12 miles to get his car that should never been taken away to begin with?
Okay. I can go along with that. Okay. So you're saying that basically if it wasn't for this referee, he would still have his belt, everything would be fine.
Undoubtedly. I mean, look at the guy. There's no way he wins. No way he beats Brino.
Okay, I'm not going to name his name. If you want to, feel free. But this was a woolly veteran of 20 plus years in the business. What do you mean? Look at the guy. I
Look at the
have
guy.
looked at the guy.
Yeah, he might have been a veteran for 20 years, but he's been working Burger King for the last 5 years. All right. So he comes out of nowhere. All right. Some white guy
Josh
gets pulled
Steinborn
out
is
of
not
the
up
Burger
to
King
snuff with your
drive-through.
client. Is that what you're saying?
Hmm?
I'm going to say his name. Josh Steinborn is not up to snuff with Brino Royce. Is that what you're saying? He's not the caliber of Brino Royce.
Maybe at some point in time in his prime, 20 years ago or something like that.
Okay.
Maybe I don't know. All right, because I honestly, none of us had ever heard of this clown before. All right, and I apologize to Squeaks.
Again,
I don't mean to insult the clowns.
I have to interrupt you, Mr. King. I have to interrupt you. HWA fan club president. I've been with them all the way through a lot of years of EWF and HWA. I know who Josh Steinborn is, sir.
I'm happy for you.
That is not true. And a lot of us who go to HWA know who Josh Steinborn is. So if you would have heard the pop afterwards, you would have realized a lot of people know who Josh Steinborn is. It wasn't just because they hate Brino, which they do.
So they pull this guy, they come up there, they go to like Burger King store number 351 where he's working, and they say, "Hey, we got this racket and we're going to put a belt on you." All right.
Okay.
And so they bring him in. Brino's supposed to fight somebody else. All right. He's supposed to give a rematch to the person he took that belt from. So we're prepared for that. They bring in this other guy, tell nobody nothing. Bring in this referee. It's all rigged up. We're going to fast count. The only time that Brino is put down for a pin is
I can agree with on this whole thing, Mr. Knight, is the fast counting ref. I believe she should be reprimanded. I believe that she should not referee any of his matches. I agree with you on that point. If she did that one time, she'll do it again. I agree with you. Now, should she stop reffing altogether? No, I don't agree with that. She should be retrained and trained to do everything straight down the middle. I will say that. And I'd say that for any referee. Okay. But I do agree. Now we're going to get to the next point. And this point, I have to ask you a question before I get to the next point. If somebody does something, if somebody climbs the mountain and achieves a goal, do they deserve all the accolades for that goal? That's my question to you.
Did they climb the mountain, or were they brought into a helicopter and landed?
They went through the tests and then they achieved the goal. If
you've gone through and worked your way to a title match and then you're able to win that match and get the belt, absolutely.
I'm glad you said that, because here's my next point I'm bringing it back up here. The next thing you said on here was that was nothing more than an attempt to smear the reign of the very first black HWA Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Championship. I've got a lot of problems with this.
Okay, before we go into it, tell me what part of that sentence is inaccurate.
There's two parts.
Okay, what part's
inaccurate? And I got proof for both.
Okay.
The first thing is you put HWA in front of the Mid-Atlantic Championship. That is incorrect, sir. The Mid-Atlantic Championship is just that. It is the Mid-Atlantic Championship. If you look at the championship itself, it does not say HWA on it. It shows the Mid-Atlantic region, which means anybody in that region can come to HWA and fight for that championship. I just want to make that clear to everybody. Okay. And I've got proof with pictures, and I'm going to prove another thing with pictures. You said again, and I'm going to put it back up here, and I'm not doing this to won you over. This is for informational purposes and for your client. He said he is the first ever black Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Championship. Well, sir, I would have to show him this picture. This, sir, would be Austin Bullock, who has the real claim to be the first ever black Mid-Atlantic champion.
Well, then you have to take that up with the owner and promoter of HWA, who is the one that is saying this stuff and giving us the
Okay, well,
information.
I will if that's the case. But this is your statement that was put out, though, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And if you look on this picture, you can see the title right there.
HWA, if the owner promoter of HWA disavows this and tells us that he is the first, then he is the first.
Oh, I agree, but again, I'm going to go back and say he's not. As a fan, the fan club president, I was here for this night. This was him winning a tournament to become the first ever. He was not only the first Black Mid-Atlantic Championship champion, he was the first ever Mid-Atlantic champion in this.
And this was at HWA.
This was it was EWF that switched over.
So he was the first ever
but wait,
EWF Mid-Atlantic champion.
But wait, see, you're doing it again. Where on this belt? And here's the picture. You can blow it up if you want. Where on that belt does it say HWA or EWF?
It doesn't have to be on the belt. It's owned by HWA.
Come on, sir. You know you're a businessman. You're technical. Come on,
exactly.
sir.
And possession's 9/10 of the law, and that's what most of the people in the Carolinas get busted for.
Come on, man. I love that you got an answer, sir. I do love that you got an answer. But Austin Bullock, who is now Austin Bebop, everybody knows him as Austin Bebop right now, who is a multiple champion in the industry right now.
Yeah, he's currently the PWU heavyweight champion. Have the ultimate respect for him.
Right, but he has the honor of saying he is the first Black Mid-Atlantic champion.
EWF awarded that to him. HWA did not. All right.
See, this is what I love about King Enterprises. And this is what you teach them too, and I love it. You skim the outside. This is not a full truth, and I just proved it to you. It's not a full truth. It is a full truth.
It is an absolute truth. It hold up in court of law. HWA.
How would it hold up when the title?
If we were talking about the Mid-Atlantic belt to Brino Royce for winning a match,
you'd have a point. You'd have a point because it says HWA heavyweight champion on it. It's an HWA title. But the Mid-Atlantic title, if you go back and if you even talk to the owner, I guarantee you, he will tell you, if you ask, will you put HWA on that title? No. This is the original.
But has HWA ever given that belt to a Black athlete for winning a match?
Heritage Wrestling Alliance, no. EWF,
all right, so he is the very first Black athlete to win the Mid-Atlantic Championship at HWA.
If you would have worded it and said it that way, I would agree with you. But you didn't. In your statement, you said
semantics.
HWA.
You're just trying to win on a little technicality, but
technicalities will win in a court of law.
All of the English speakers and the good lawyers, I would win in a court of law.
I doubt it. And and another thing I want to say is, and I love Brino Royce to death, but I wish he wouldn't have brought that up to begin with. I mean, I'm glad he is the first Black. If you want to say he's the first Black HWA Mid-Atlantic champion, that's great. But the last statement you made in here really affects me to my core. It says this is a shameful miscarriage of sportsmanship and civil rights. The sportsmanship, I totally agree with. The screw job part, I agree with. The civil rights part, I don't agree with.
You don't have to agree with it. So I look at it this way, and this is grounds for argument, and I'll give you that. You can argue it, right?
Right.
And you would have as much leverage as I do, but let me put it this way, though. Mid-Atlantic champion.
See, Missy believes the same thing I do. KE will always find the smallest loophole. You are good at that, sir.
Well, because we designed the loopholes, all right? So we weave them into the fabric. Mid-Atlantic champion was white. Brino comes in. They don't expect Brino to win. Brino wins. Very first opportunity they have, they fast count him and take it off of him. All right.
Okay.
So I think there is reason to raise an eyebrow to that.
Okay. And we're having don't think that we're going to get off of here and me and Michael King are going to hate each other. We're not. This is a friendly discussion, but I just wanted to go over some of the things that I know, because if I bleed HWA EWF. Everybody who knows me knows that. I cry when I miss a show. That's how much I bleed HWA. So, but I just had to, give Brino Royce a dose of reality that there are all shapes, creeds, sizes, everything that comes into HWA. I don't want people to read what you said and think that they don't let black people wrestle there. They don't let Asian people wrestle there. That's not the case. You're stating that this referee is biased in that way, correct? Or is this toward HWA? Because I don't believe that, because I've seen all races.
So don't take this as a firm accusation. We're filing a civil rights lawsuit.
Okay.
Think of it as an inquiry, and maybe it's time for everybody, fans included, to do a little introspection and raise an eyebrow about their own biases and say, did we get offended by this? Did we want it off of this guy? Maybe the referee wanted off. Maybe the managers wanted. Maybe the managers told the referee to do that, or she would be fired. I don't know. Right? So it seems to me that questions need to be asked, and I'm throwing the question out there.
But why would it be civil? Because you could put anybody in Brino's spot and say bad sportsmanship, bad officiating with the referee and the company, but why put the civil rights part in it? That's my legit question, because that isn't saying, let's take a biased look. You legitly said shameful miscarriage of civil rights.
Yeah, I mean, they cheated.
This is the first time I've ever saw Michael King have to think about an answer, and I'm loving this. Go ahead, man.
They cheated a man of color, and so
right.
In my opinion, I think there was some malice behind it.
Okay, now we're getting down to the real answer. Right. Here we go.
So I encourage everybody. So I think there's malice behind it. I think there's agenda. I think there's a purpose behind that fast count. I don't think it was necessarily limited to just the referee.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So everybody that cheered that he lost in that horrendous match, that travesty of a match, everyone that cheered, I just ask yourself, are you cheering because it's Brino, or are you cheering because of something a little different? Now,
I have to tell you, for full disclaimer of this show, before I start getting hate mail, and anybody at HWA will tell you, I was rooting for Brino in that match. The whole match, I was cheering for Brino Royce. And when he lost, I was a little upset. I'm not going to lie. It wasn't for the same reasons that you were.
Well, Scott, I believe you.
But I was upset.
If you were upset at Brino losing, if you're upset at the fast count, then maybe when you do that introspection, you can say,
I was too busy watching the wrestlers. I have to admit, I didn't see. But when you showed the video proof, I will agree with you. I cannot disagree with you, because you showed video proof, and you can literally see the difference in her count. I'm not saying that this referee is a bad referee. Please don't anybody go to her, and I see somebody is trying to get her to come watch the show, and that's fine. I don't mind. I'm not saying she's a bad ref, but it was total neglect on her part, and you could see it. And then the other thing that I agree with you on, when you was talking to her or somebody was talking to her about it, she laughed about it. Not a good way to do business. You should have been, okay, I see what you were saying. I'll try to do better next time. That should have been the phrase that came out of her mouth. And this probably wouldn't have went as far as it did. But she didn't do that. So I would say, and this is just me being a fan and the fan club president, suspend her, if not in, for a short period of time, or suspend her from at least doing Brino Royce matches. If you guys are coming in, you guys deserve that, because it was proven that what you did.
Well,
what you
XWW
did.
is having referee training.
They
All right?
are, and
so
I have to
HWA
admit,
should also send her to that on top of things, because if someone is struggling at a portion of their job, and you prevent them from doing their job, aka suspended, and then they go right back, well, now they've just lost experience of working, so they're not going to be any better. So suspender, trainer.
In all this preparation for me, and it wasn't preparation to this moment, ladies and gentlemen. This is not what happened. I legitimately have all these questions that I asked Mike right here, and I still have more on the back, but I had to put that out there because the argument is there. I saw the things going on, and I agree with some of it I don't, but we've already hashed that out. But this is what he is speaking of. Extreme World Wrestling and Top Rope Studio presents a wrestling seminar April 30th, 1707 Morgan Mill Road in Monroe, North Carolina. Gerald Fritz, an NWA referee, well-rounded, knows he's going to teach you guys timing, positioning, communication, the whole thing. The starting time is at 1 p.m. Get a hold of XWW or Top Rope Studios to get a place in there. And if you're a referee, and I would tell the referee that has this going on, this would be a perfect thing for you to do. And maybe it won't happen again. I'm just going to throw it out there. But let's change it back for a few more minutes before we get out of here. Back to what's going on now. You had mentioned that some of your guys are champions. Who all are champions in King Enterprises at the moment?
Well, okay, let me give you two answers to that. The way we really work is anybody's a champion, the whole team is a champion. All right. So let me give you that caveat first. And then the second, and the answer that I think you're really looking for, is right now, Brino is a champion and a half, because I still view him as the HWA Mid-Atlantic champion. Okay. And AJ Frost is the champion at APW Boiling Springs. All right. And his team, Justin Kindred and Jamie Purge, are tag team champions at APW in Boiling Springs as well.
Okay. So here's the question. If they're part of that, is the Kindred becoming part of King Enterprises? Is it possible? Is it possible? Because you would not have mentioned them without. I know you too well, Mr. King, to know that you would not mention somebody else with your guys if they weren't being considered at least for a.
You know what this is, Scott?
It looks like a cuffling. What is that?
You know what this is?
That's a shirt sleeve. You
It's
got
a
something up
sleeve.
your sleeve. I got you.
All right.
I got you without a doubt, man. So I'm going to say this again before I end the show. I'm sorry. I apologize for not putting up everybody's comments and questions. I did make a statement at the beginning of the show that I was going to be talking to Michael and getting down deep into King Enterprises. I didn't get as deep as I want, so I'm going to be asking Michael if he would to please come back. My little rant lasted longer than I thought it would, but
Okay.
I would like to have you back, and again, maybe you can help me out with getting into some more detail about King Enterprises and the members that are coming in.
Let me tell you this, just for you and your listeners. In a month's time, you're going to be very, very curious about King Enterprises.
Uh-oh. Somebody's out there saying, not Justin. Justin's not ready. Uh-oh. See, that's where King Enterprises has proved wrong, because a lot of people would have said, why AJ Frost? But he works perfectly with King Enterprises. And I mean, you can do that. You can go all the way down the line and do that. And there's always an answer, though. You always have an answer. And again, if all these guys didn't want to get into King Enterprises, I would think something was wrong with them anyway. I'm just saying.
But what if they aren't in? What if Kindred and Purge are not in King Enterprises, and then I send 2 guys to take the belts off of them?
But okay, we're okay. Let's go into this for a minute, since apparently you don't want to end the show. So we'll continue. If you do that, then wouldn't that be going against your main man, AJ Frost? I mean, if you take the belts from AJ Frost at APW, where he is the heavyweight champion, and part of his clique is this tag team, and you take those belts away, are you showing dominance to him that King Enterprises is the top dog and not what he puts together?
No, not at all. Because what if we elevate his team?
Had to put that out there.
I mean, let's be ridiculous for a moment. All right.
We've been ridiculous for about 25 minutes now, but okay.
Let's say I get Moxley and Jericho to come to APW Boiling Springs and replace Kindred and Purge to work with AJ. You think AJ is going to turn that down?
Yes.
You think he would?
Yes.
I don't think he would at all.
I do. I do in this sense, Michael. I do in this sense. I'm sorry, Mr. King. I do in this sense, because those 2 guys that are coming in as champions, as made players, aren't going to follow AJ Frost.
No, that'd be part of the deal, is that they follow
guys
AJ
that are
Frost.
champions are followers, and they can say whatever they want, but they are followers to AJ Frost.
Okay, so let me do this. Since you want to take this down a different path, if I got 2 guys at that ability to work with AJ Frost is going to upgrade. We get better
as long as they listen to AJ Frost. I would agree with you.
That'd be the requirement.
Frost is kingpin. I would agree with you.
Yeah,
but you mentioned 2
nobody
names
joins.
These guys would not. Are you kidding me?
Nobody
Moxley
joins
would go
King
after his
Enterprises
title.
without being part of the team, so
Right.
they would listen. It's a given.
Come on, man. You know, come on. Now that is far fetched. That is way far fetched.
Nobody
if you would have
joins
gave me 2 indie names, we would have saw eye to eye. But you went there.
Okay, so I'm sorry you're not able to grasp concepts. All right, so
I can grasp concepts, but the concept
so if
that
I brought
have
in,
is legitimately true.
If I brought in, let's say I bring Rayhan and Teus and John Davidson to King Enterprises.
Okay.
All right, and I decide I want them to be tag team champs.
Okay.
And I want them to work with AJ, and they want to work with AJ. Do you
Does
think
it have to be at APW?
Hmm?
Does it have to be at APW?
Doesn't have to be anywhere, but it would still be if we decided that's where they're going to be, that's where they're going to be.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at somebody who is not supposed to be spoken about as a member of King Enterprises, and he's coming awfully close to being spoken about. Just saying. And you know who you are. But no, I'm legitimately, if you would have told me, if you would have gotten 2 other tag team members of the Indies to come in and be under them, and they were better than the 2 that are there, which is not too easy, because those 2 are really big fan favorites, even though they're heels there. They have a lot of fans there, and I wouldn't replace them. Me personally, I wouldn't replace them, because they they blend well with AJ, follow his orders. They do it. They're a quintessential backup to AJ there. Where if you get somebody who's as good as AJ or better than AJ, then AJ is going to have to watch his back. True or not true?
No, because we have Caleb Crocker, who is like AJ's number one guy. All right.
And you're going to tell me if Crocker, I know Crocker, just as well as you do. And you're going to tell me that if APW went to Crocker and sat Crocker down and said, hey, we want you to be the next APW heavyweight champion, you don't think Crocker would turn on AJ Frost in a heartbeat?
I know for a fact that he would not.
Oh my goodness. You don't know Crocker very well.
I do. I can tell you this. I can tell you this. If AJ laid down on the canvas and all Crocker had to do was lay down and pin him, I know for a fact that Crocker would not do it. I also know that Crocker will lay down for AJ.
Wow. That's I would have to see that to believe it. Truly, honestly, I mean, we're talking a man who every podcast I've ever, including my own, you can go back and watch. Mm-hmm. He was also a Mid-Atlantic champion at one time.
By his own words, he's not really vying for it. That getting a belt is not his goal right now. All right, he's getting paid. I
understand that, but right? I'm telling you.
So he's smart enough to look at the long game. If he did anything, it'd be costing himself money. So he's not going to do it.
But you're going to tell me that if he could be the number one guy at APW or anywhere else that he's at,
he would lose money.
Presented the opportunity,
he would lose money.
We'll give you a title shot for the APW Heavyweight Championship. You're going to tell me he'd say no? That's your answer.
I'm not going to tell you he'd say no, but I can tell you that he won't win.
He would say no. He would say yes quicker than he could flip burgers. Missy is right.
And I would tell him to say yes, because that'd be a great night for that team.
But of course it would, because no matter who wins, it's still in the team. But you can't tell me that with the ego, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, because everybody knows Caleb Crocker has an ego as the day is long. That's
one of the things I love about him.
And me too. But you're not going to tell me that he won't turn that ego on AJ Frost. I beat you. You listen to me now. You're going to tell me? Come on, Michael.
No,
King, come on.
He would lose money. He would lose money.
My back can't take it.
Him being a champion would cost him money.
What?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. That's
crazy. He would make less money as a champion than he does right now.
Then what does that say about King Enterprises? If a man can be a heavyweight champion and lose money, that makes no sense.
No, he's making good money right now.
Why can't he be the champion and King Enterprises adjust to him being the champion and AJ follow, and the same amount of money or more still comes in? Why can't you do that?
Because everybody has their purpose, and as long as you fill that purpose,
so as long as you're behind AJ, your purpose is fine. That's what you're telling me.
As long as you're protecting the team and the role that you signed up for, things are fine.
You're again playing right into what I said. As long as you're being a backup to AJ, as long as you're a team player. So let me ask you this. AWL, Brino Royce is heavyweight champion. I'm just going to throw this out there to be throwing it out there. Another King Enterprises gentleman frequents AWL just as much as he does. We've spoken of him before. As a matter of fact, he's one that actually legitimately helped him become AWL champion in the 5-way match. What if he said to you, Michael, APW came to me and said they want me to win the AP. They want me to be to fight Brino Royce and be the champion. Are you going to say no to him? No, because that's not what you signed up for. You have to.
That's a very different team and a very different team dynamic. All right, so your Brewers, all right, they're built a certain way, correct?
Right.
Would you
I'm with
say
100%.
is it pitching? Is it offense? Is it defense? What's their strength?
Our starting rotation and a few hitters.
All right. So now, if you had another team and they had 6 guys that hit 40 home runs, but their pitching ERA is about 6, are you going to lean on your pitching to get you through, or are you going to lean on your hitting?
You're going to lean on your hitting, of course.
You're going to lean on your hitting. Why? Because the team is built different than the other team.
I'm not I'm not claiming
So-
that it's
so
not a
what I'm
different
saying
situation.
here
I
is-
see where you're going with this. I see where
AJ's
you're going
team
with this.
is built a certain way. Reno's team is built a certain way. All right. Then King Enterprises umbrella maneuvers within it to make sure everyone remains successful. As long as
So what you're saying is King Enterprises adjusts to win hook or crook. Is that basically what you're saying?
I wouldn't use hook or crook, but we
Oh, come
adjust to
on.
make sure that
Come
we're
on, Michael King. Let's be honest. This is hashtag truth. Brino Royce's AWL heavyweight championship is under a lot of scrutiny by a lot of people. Let's just be real about this. You can sit here and deny it. He can deny it. I was sitting front row. I was sitting right there and saw him hit the man with his ring on and then throw the ring afterwards. I showed
You
it
keep
on
going
here.
back to
I
this.
love doing this with King Enterprises. It's so much fun because you guys are going to deny every bit of it. Again, you're going to do it again right here, which is awesome.
I don't understand how you can go to I was rooting for Brino Royce. He's a crook.
But-
So what I'm hearing is
But wait
Scott
a minute.
Larson likes
I'm still.
crooks?
I love what he does, even though he's being a crook. Does that make sense?
you love crooks.
You can
Scotty.
root for heels too. There's plenty of people out there in America who root for the bad guy. Sometimes when the bad guy is done,
Let's
done
put it this
cool.
way. We have a specific strategy for each of our members. All right. We
Okay.
play
Okay.
to their strengths. We have a mission and a vision, and we accomplish it by the best means possible.
I understand. I got you. I'm going to take some medicine while we're talking
right.
because my back is killing me from all the movement. I can't sit still when I get excited, and everybody knows this. So I'm going to be peeling out a couple of these pills while we're talking. But I understand that. But again, you can understand where the hook and crook comes from when it comes to me, right? When I say that, win at
know.
any cost. You're not going to go into a match to lose at any cost.
No,
Everybody
we
goes
go in
into
to
win at
win,
any
of course. All right. So, and do we believe in rules? Absolutely. Letter of the law type of thing. All right. So, for example, people want to talk about,
it's
this
getting
person,
thick, Mike. It's getting thick in here.
this person is a cheater. I have not seen a match where nobody cheated in a long time. All right. By your definition of cheating. All right. So,
Okay, I'll give you that because a closed fist is used in a lot of matches when they
yeah,
shouldn't
that's
be, and they
cheating.
should be.
You know,
I agree with you.
hitting
I can agree
somebody
with you on that.
on the ropes or in the corners, cheating.
I
all
agree
right.
with you.
So
I agree with you.
everybody cheats. You're just mad at the way, you know.
At the way we do it. Just say it. You were about
you're
to say
just
it.
mad at the timing and when we decide we're going to play loose with the rules like everybody else.
I got you. At least you're admitting you play loose with the rules. Okay. If that's all I get out of you today, I'm a happy man.
We just like the NFL. If the referees are not calling pass interference, we're going to touch a little bit more.
I got you. You're going to push the boundaries, and I understand that. I get that 100%. Ron Emerson, since he said go ahead and put it up here, he said Scott Larson, an old saying goes, he who stirs the pot must lick the spoon. You, sir, are digging a hole, blurring a racism line, and attempting to create an issue where there is not one. Give your viewers something. I am giving my viewers something to invest in. I can say without a doubt during this show, and you can go back and watch, there was at least 3 times where Michael King, I've never seen this happen before in a legit podcast, 3 times where Michael King was stuttering. Go back and check. Go back and look. He had to think about what I was saying because I had some valid points, and he came back with some good answers because that's Michael King. But Michael King cannot sit here on this show right now and say that I didn't have Michael King thinking really hard on how to answer some of those questions because he wasn't expecting none of that. This is one of them shows where I didn't say, hey, Michael, this is what we're going to do before the show. Did I or did I not?
You did not. I told you to bring it.
And you did tell me to bring it. So I did. And that's exactly where it goes. And I did not push the racism thing. I wasn't pushing it. I was trying to get it taken away. There's a difference. There's a huge difference. I don't think that was the time and the place. And I'll say it again. Whether you agree with me, that's an opinion. And that's what #truth is all about. And again, with Michael, that's he can pursue that if he wants. But I'm just telling you, in my point of view, that could have been left out. The sportsmanship part of it, I 100% agree with him. 100% do not deny that referee needs to be reprimanded.
Well, let's say if Brino returns to HWA,
okay.
If HWA gets back with me, and I think they're supposed to next week, and meet our demands that we sent in.
Wait a minute. Can I ask you something? Wait a minute. Before you finish that statement, can I ask you something? At any point in time in this interview, did you not understand what I was saying? Did you not? Did I sound stupid, or you did not know where I was going with a question at any point during this?
No. I clearly saw the traps that you were laying before me, and so sometimes I had to pause and step around.
Okay, so your man Ron here, who said you had to decipher my rhetoric. Because I wasn't being clear. That is totally wrong. So he just told you, Ron, you're wrong. Sit down. Enjoy the show. All right. Because me and Ron have got problems in the past too. Everybody knows that. And Ron's part of King Enterprise. So of course he's gonna, say everything he can to agree with you.
Ron is our consigliere. All right. He delivers messages for us. He's a liaison.
He's a water boy. Let's just say it the way it is. Let's just give him a title. He's a water boy.
He is much more critical to us than that.
Ron knows I love him. I have to give him some garbage, man. We still play on that thing we did last year. It was so much fun. No, Ron's a great guy. Again, I'm playing both sides here, but no, seriously, Ron is a great guy. Great podcast, the whole 9 yards. Sometimes I disagree with his alliances, and King Enterprises is one of them. But hey, we all can't be perfect.
Yeah, and we forgive you for that, Scott.
I know you do. Hey, if it wasn't for me, you guys wouldn't have the tough questions. Let's just be honest. There's not a lot of people out there that can give you that can make Michael King stutter in a podcast. There's not many.
I wouldn't call it stuttering. It would be, okay, where is he really going to go with this? What kind of little trap is he trying to set? So I have to.
Why would you think I'm laying a trap? It was right there. I was not saying anything outside of the perimeters of what you had in your statement, did I?
You're kind of a shady character, Scott.
Oh, come on. I'm shady. Oh, my. I got to take these pills, man. I'm being called shady. I like to think myself and I know everybody's going to kill me for saying this. I like to think of myself as quite the journalist because I did look up, you got to give me credit bringing up a picture like this and disproving something that Brino said.
Yeah,
even
the EWF
even though you're going to use a technicality to say it was true, I did do my homework. You have to admit that.
You did. You pulled up the EWF Mid-Atlantic Champion and tried to call it the HWA one.
I got you. See, I did that again. The loopholes. I love it. I love it. You're very good at that. Missy said Ron loves soap.
Well, I wish a lot of the people in the locker room would.
Oh my goodness. That's a whole nother hour-long show about we need to do a show like that, sir. I would love to sit down and discuss. As a matter of fact, I'd like to bring Ron on, bring Brino on, bring anybody from King Enterprises on, and let's sit down and talk about a day in the life of King Enterprises and what you guys think going into a show and going through a show and things like that. I think that would be a great my wife's pointing at this saying this is the man, not Brino. But anyway, of course, she doesn't like Brino at all.
She just likes people who lose to Brino. Got it.
Oh, snap. I got you. But seriously, I would like to do a show like that. Bring you on, bring as many members of King Enterprises that we can get on at the same time, and seriously go through your day, a show day, like you guys were all going to a show together. What you do to prepare yourselves from the time you get up, and I'm not talking about just skipping 6 hours at a time. I'm talking about your whole operation of what you would do, and you know what you talk about when you get to the show, who you talk to, like you were talking about before, when Brino or your wrestlers find out, hey, you're gonna go over or you're putting this person over, and they ask why. I want to know what kind of answers they get, why they ask those questions. You know what I'm saying? Get into detail about what you said.
You're kind of after some trade secrets.
No. I promise you, Michael King, you guys can divulge as little or as much as you want. That's your prerogative, and I've never pushed. Now, as a journalist, you know, when and Ron can say this too. He's asked questions, he's pushed the boundaries until somebody said, okay, Ron, I'm not gonna, you know, all of us do it. So it's your prerogative to say, hey, okay, I'm not gonna divulge that because that's King Enterprises information only. But I want to take somebody through a wrestling day with a group of wrestlers, a team of wrestlers that work together, and they're, you know, whatever you call yourself. I was gonna say manager, but it's more than just manager. As a matter of fact, go through your spill that you did during the intro of the show. Tell everybody exactly who you are.
Well, it's evolved a little bit since then.
Okay, so give us the full scoop.
All right. So, for those of you who don't know, let me introduce myself. I am the Asian sensation Michael King, founder of King Enterprises. I am the Alpha and the Sigma, and I'm Vietnam's greatest export. That's where I've changed it to from the original. All right.
I got you.
I'm no longer sponsoring Vietnam Pro Wrestling. I got them up on their feet, and they're doing fine now.
So what you're telling me is you got to do a new intro for me.
Yeah, I probably do. But then the parts after that, it still is the same. You know, there's no move I can't counter. There's no strategy I can't defeat. You've got problems, I've got solutions. So give me a call. I'm the ultimate solutions provider.
I like that. So, and again, we're going to get into that part too when I have you one-on-one next time, which I hope is in the near future. I do want to do a part 2 to this. I hope everybody enjoyed it. We've been on for almost an hour and 30 minutes. So I'm going to, call it a night, and I'm not going to lie to you. My brewer's starting about 4 minutes. So
yeah. All right. I'll leave you with this, and no more questions after this, but okay. King Enterprises is a tree. So there you go.
You're making me think. You're making me think Karate Kid here, bro. I'm just gonna put those vibes out there. You're the Mr. Miyagi thing. You know where I'm going with it. You always do. But
we are a tree.
I got you. Scott, can we show my Michael King video next show, Missy? Send that to me, and we'll put whatever you want. She said, you know the one. We will show it next show next time I have Michael King on, which we'll talk about it after the show, and maybe set up a time further on after I get my back taken care of and everything else. But I really wanted to do this show, not only for the Brino Royce thing, but I really want to get deeper in depth into the King Enterprises, where you're coming from, where you're going. And I really want to talk next time about outside of wrestling, what you do outside of wrestling that helps with the wrestling. It always comes back to the wrestling, but I want to talk about that. Ryan Manta says, looks intently, smirks, quietly exits. There's another enemy of King Enterprises, without a doubt. But all right, so we're going to call it a night, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Michael King, for honoring me tonight and coming on and taking the hot seat and not backing off of any of my questions, especially when I was talking about Brino Royce and what was going on at HWA. I hope, everybody's going to pick their sides no matter how it goes. I wish you all the luck in the future, and with your team, I wish them all the luck in the future, and I hope to have you back soon.
Thank you, Scott. Peace be the journey.
There you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to end it like this. Brino Royce. He is the vice president of King Enterprises. He is the AWL heavyweight champion, but he is not the first ever Black Mid-Atlantic champion. And I proved it right here. And that is the #truth. We'll see you guys very soon.